Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben, and as always I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Claire.
Hey.
And Pete. Hello. This week we're going to talk about Colonel Percy Fawcett and the Man-Apes of South America.
Man-Apes?
Man-Apes. I always love stuff like this because one of my favourite jobs of all time, historical jobs, is Gentleman Explorer.
Yeah.
You know, where someone just gives you a load of money for some reason, and you go, right, off I trot into the deepest, darkest jungles of South America, and then 9 times out of 10 no one ever sees you again. But you've got to admire the pluck.
Yeah.
You know?
The balls of them, yeah, definitely.
And it's like, oh, tally-ho. And you have a fine moustache, you know, a pith helmet.
Okay.
Khaki shorts.
Exactly, khaki. And you just go off with your...
You could look a bit more like Indiana Jones, really.
It's 90s, yeah, but it's not that kind of period.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, right, okay. So what they
Young
say,
Indiana
just go and
Jones.
discover some shit, here's some money.
Well, it's like
and
really early
bring
Indiana
you,
Jones.
Bring
isn't
you
it?
back something magic, you know, something magic.
Then after the fucking Temple of Doom.
After the Monkey Men, for fuck's sake.
No, he's actually looking for the lost city of Z,
Right.
but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Is that Z as in the letter? So should you have said Z, or is it Z as in...
Well, to be fair,
How's it spelled?
it's literally just the letter Z,
Okay.
but I think Z sounds better rather than the lost city of Z.
Doesn't to my English ears. Doesn't to my English ears. It
Alright,
hurts my English ears, that noise.
Lost city of Z it is.
Thank you.
We're English, goddammit.
Yeah. Z.
I'll speak the
Like I
Queen's.
say a minute ago, he was putting all the hats on and getting all like, tally-ho! And then he goes, Z.
Hey, tally-ho, chucks away, let's go and find some zebras! Oh, my ears have just blown up!
Well, let's see how many American listeners we offended this week. Just putting that opening segment.
It's our language, for God's sake!
They just bastardise it.
Actually, they technically speak a purer form of it
An easier form, certainly.
because it's
It
the
hasn't
Oregano.
changed or something.
Oregano. Does that sound like an easier form?
purer form.
It doesn't sound much purer than oregano.
Traitor, get out.
I'm not defending it. By any stretch of the imagination, I walk on the footpath. I take it my rubbish. Although that's actually one thing that has worried me recently is I keep saying movie instead of film. And that's worried me slightly.
Bugging you.
Yeah, it's bugging me. Oh, well, let's thank some new and returning listeners and then we'll get to the meat and bones of it. So where shall I start? Glasgow in the United Kingdom.
Oh, hi, Glasgow!
Southport in the UK. Helvoet in the Netherlands. St Leonard's on Sea in the UK. Madeira in Saudi Arabia. Cheltenham in the UK. Hanoi in Vietnam. Peterborough in the UK. Herne Bay in the UK. A lot of UK this week. Bengaluru in India. You're always here. Zurich in Switzerland. Jenison in Missouri. Detroit in Missouri. Michigan, actually, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Jenison, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan. Ashburn, Virginia. Stevenage in the UK. Guadalajara, Spain. Belfast in the UK. Frankfurt on Main. And Dublin in Ireland.
Wow, Dublin's really steps it up this week.
It's
Well,
impressive.
you've won the Irish battle, definitely.
I'd say so. Well, let's have a chat with Percy Fawcett. Famous explorer of his time.
We're just looking at a bit of a sketch of him. He has got an impressive
Moustache.
hasn't he?
Yeah. So the remote jungles of South America have long been the source of tales of strange creatures and legends, and among these are numerous sightings of large ape-like creatures prowling the wilderness. Bigfoot's everywhere, people.
Yeah.
Every continent there's a Bigfoot.
But so
Myth.
within the Americas...
Bigfoot myth.
Within the Americas...
Not a proven Bigfoot, let's state that.
Within the Americas, it's certainly the most predominant place for it, whether it's the South Americas or North America, Canada, Alaska. It's all around all of
The
that.
Yeti is very unhappy with you about that statement.
Well, sorry, the Yeti is up there. No, because the Yeti's Himalayas and that.
I know, he's very unhappy with you about that statement. He thinks he should be number one. He told me.
Okay.
See, I'm more up for the Yeti than the Sasquatch.
Really?
It's exactly
Why?
the same thing.
Nowhere for a Yeti
Yeah, I
to
know,
hide.
but that's because of the location. I think it'll be harder to find in the Himalayas than
Well,
the Americas.
100%. But at the same time, you've got areas the size of the UK that are just purely uninhabited forest lands.
Yeah, you don't.
So,
The American wilderness is still absolutely vast.
like, stupidly vast.
Yeah, but you've got natives and that still live there and in them.
Only in very, very, very
Small
very
numbers.
small amount of areas. The rest, there's so, and that's that. And you're talking there, South America, your Brazils and the rainforests of that kind of area. Yeah, the Amazons and all that.
Yeah, but it's becoming less and less, isn't it? We're encroaching on something.
Totally, yeah. We're fucking getting rid of it all and shit.
Yeah.
So we should be seeing more Bigfoots.
That's what I mean.
Well,
We're getting
the
more bear
area's shrinking,
encounters.
I suppose.
More mountain lion encounters. Why don't you get Bigfoot encounters?
The Bigfoots are pushing the bears and the mountain lions out of their territory because they're being encroached upon.
Maybe.
They're top dog in the scenario.
Surely
Yeah.
Yetis are just migrated Bigfoots.
No, they are. They are just another Bigfoot that's.
Evolved.
Just from a
in
different
the
area
snow,
in
yeah.
the world, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, the description of these beasts often varies, with sizes ranging from a diminutive 3 feet tall all the way up to hulking 12-foot tall hairy giants, and are often claimed by the natives of the region and witnesses to live in villages of their own, use primitive bows and arrows, and to have a language of grunts and whistles. That's kind of fun.
Well, 3 feet tall could be could be a toddler, like a baby, couldn't it?
Could be.
Could be like a 1-year-old just started to walk kind of thing. So that you could use that.
Well, although regional names may vary, they are now mostly filed under the blanket name of the Maricoxi, and they are, for the most part, more or less the South American version of Bigfoot. Perhaps the most well-documented and harrowing encounters with these mysterious creatures was detailed by the famed British explorer Colonel Percival H. Fawcett, who vanished into the jungle during an ill-fated expedition to find a mysterious lost city he called Zed. Fawcett was known to write extensive journals of his travels, many of which would later be compiled into books by his son Brian Fawcett. In one of these books, called Lost Trails, Lost Cities, there is to be found within its pages a rather curious and spectacular tale of encountering the Maricoxi. Fawcett actually went missing in 1925 in the jungle while looking for the lost city of Zed. This in particular expedition was in 1914. He then came back out and went and fought in World War One,
Okay.
and then went back to exploring after.
Bit of a fucking proper man, wasn't he?
Yeah, just a bit.
Why did he come out to,
British
actually
stuff,
find
wasn't it?
out?
Because technically he was actually a serving member of the British Army. The colonel's not honorific, he was an artillery colonel. He fought with he went to Woolwich, he was trained as a young man.
It's a World War, Clair, and news travels.
It's a World War, and he went back home. He's a trained artillery officer. So off he toddled to the Western Front.
He was probably signing up for it. He was probably like waiting to get back into it. wasn't
Like
he?
for
That's
king
what they
and
were
country,
like.
innit?
Yeah, that's what it was like them days.
They just didn't realise it was all a load of bollocks.
Can we just see that moustache again?
Yeah, it's a fantastic moustache, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got a bit of a beard going on as well there, but he's definitely got a moustache that, as they stick out for a good inch
Oh,
and a half,
yeah.
2 inches either side.
Got Sherlock Holmes look about him with
Yeah.
that pipe in him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The encounter supposedly happened in 1914 as Fawcett was on an expedition to map out the uncharted southwestern region of an area called Mato Grosso. From Bolivia they penetrated into the dark jungle up the Guapor River, and already they'd become well acquainted by local tribes with the bizarre stories of hairy man-beasts said to dwell out there in that sea of trees. And although it seemed rather fantastical, it was enough to keep them wary of their surroundings, and they would find out there on their journey. And what they would find out there on their journey. Ivan Sanderson wrote of the stories Fawcett heard in his 1967 book Things, in which he writes, and we'll quote him, "The creatures were apparently called Maricoxis by the Maxabuis. They dwelt to their northeast. Due east, there was said to be another group of short black people covered with hair who were truly cannibalistic and hunted humans for food, cooking the bodies over a fire on a bamboo spit and tearing off the meat. These, the Maxabuis, regarded as merely loathsome and lowly people. On a later trip, Colonel Fawcett was told of 8 people who lived in holes in the ground, were also covered with dark hair and were nocturnal, so they became known in surrounding areas as the morcegos or bat people. These types are called caballeros or hairy people by the Spanish-speaking and tatos, or armadillos by several Amerindian groups because they live in holes like the armadillo. Fawcett also records forest Amerindies as telling them that the martigos have an incredibly well-developed sense of smell, which prompts even these acute hunters to suggest they have some sixth sense. So even the guys who live in the rainforest are like, yeah, them guys are fucking sweet. Well, they're not. They're lowly people. They eat humans, but they're fantastic hunters. They're better than us.
Interesting.
And these are the shorter ones.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in their way if they're eating people.
No, you don't.
Why don't they just eat animals?
Well, maybe they prefer
They do.
people.
They do. And
Yeah.
if a person comes along the way like that, ooh, that'll do. Got a good bit of meat on his rump.
Yeah. Apparently the ass is the choicest cut.
You said this before.
I know, I'm just pointing out again.
Clearly wants to eat some ass.
Yeah, tastes like pork, apparently, human. They nevertheless bravely ventured out along the river, coming across some oddities along the way. The first interesting discovery was a previously unknown Amerindian tribe who identified themselves as the Maxabuis and displayed some curious traits, such as their religion of worshipping the sun and demonstrating an inexplicable knowledge of the planets of the solar system, which they could draw out with rather shocking accuracy. This would have been interesting to have studied further, but Fawcett and the company were not there to do anthropological work, because we're British and we're not here to study you. We're here to map out this jungle.
Find ape men.
So after they stayed with them for a few days, they headed back out into the mist-shrouded jungle once more, leaving these fascinating people behind and crossing over into a region that was completely unseen by outsiders and may as well be the surface of some alien planet, which I guess it would. No Western individual's ever been there. It's literally mapping out unexplored.
Yeah.
And you're there with what you can carry, your trusty pistol.
Imagine that. That's the kind of place you're going into.
Imagine seeing that. Like, wow. The picture's great.
For the listener, do you want to describe it?
Oh, it's like a valley. There's lush, verdant trees. There's pinky orange, rocky outcrops.
The trees almost look like grass. It's that thick.
Dense jungle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think of the Grand
very-
Canyon, but completely lush.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do it. The heat, the mosquitoes. No.
Thing is, if you get hurt
Yeah,
in
you're
that
dead.
scenario, you're dead, aren't you? That's if you're going to get eaten by a tiger in your sleep.
And plus, they don't know about penicillin at this point, do they?
In 1914, no penicillin.
So, you get an infection, you're dead.
Oh, what's the penicillin?
Fact checker Pete, penicillin. 20s, wasn't it?
I think you might be right there.
I've
27?
I've got 21 in my head. I don't know.
I've got 27.
Or it might have been 23. I can't remember. Could have been 22. Well, 24.
So it could be any year from between 1920 and 1930, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
I know it was Alexander Fleming, but so after several days of dealing with the numerous perils of this untamed land, the expedition found themselves faced with a mysterious trail out there in the middle of nowhere, which they presumed to be one used by the natives of the region. As they stood there deciding whether to follow the trail or not and which way to go, Fawcett writes that they saw two figures moving about 100 yards away, apparently chatting away in some unknown language and carrying bows and arrows. Although they were at first presumed to be from a local tribe, closer inspection showed them to be decidedly odder, and Fawcett described them. What year was it, Peter?
We were all wrong. It was 28.
Ah,
I was only 1 year out.
so no penicillin then.
Nope. Mad bastards, aren't they?
So to quote Fawcett, we could not see them clearly, for the shadows dappling their bodies, but it seemed to me that they were large, hairy men with exceptionally long arms and with foreheads sloping back from pronounced eye ridges. Men of a very primitive kind, in fact, and stark naked. Suddenly they were turned and made off into the undergrowth, and we, knowing it was useless to follow, started up the north leg of the trail.
Have they not just come across like a pygmy tribe or something?
Now, these are large, hairy men, so
Oh, these ones are large, sorry.
that's what I just read. Yeah.
I was putting my phone down. I didn't hear the first very little bit. I do apologise.
Sloping foreheads.
So it sounds more like a stereotypical
Neanderthal.
we hear
Yeah, big
that
sort of high
Bigfoot
brain,
Neanderthal-y
like-
kind of thing. Because I would say Bigfoot could also be Neanderthal-y, couldn't they?
Well, they are most of Bigfoot sightings. They do have this large sloping brow and the hooded eyes.
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
So-
Now, are they hairy or is that like bear skin that they're wearing?
well, he says they're naked and hairy.
So you think with evolution, the way they've evolved,
Would they need
They
the
haven't
hair?
had clothes.
As much hair in the
Maybe they're
seats?
assless bear chaps.
They're entirely hairy apart from their ass chaps,
Yeah.
apart from their ass cheeks.
probably not far off.
Maybe.
Would they have as much hair? Because obviously, you know, the northern wilderness of America and Canada is a bit nippy. Obviously, the Himalayas are rather cold.
Jungles are rather hot.
Jungles are rather hot. So will they have less hair
Not
as opposed to
necessarily.
traditional Bigfoot?
The way the hair is, it keeps animals cool as well, doesn't it?
All I'm saying is this a lost tribe of Polish men?
No,
Or Eastern European men?
I think
Because they are quite hairy.
maybe their hair isn't as long as.
Maybe it's you can see skin through it, but you can tell there's a definite covering.
Well,
Either way, he didn't think they were humans.
see,
No.
I'm picturing like your chimpanzee, gorilla kind of hair, quite thin
Yeah, I see what you're
covering
saying.
of hair. Whereas like your northern America, your typical Sasquatch have got more matted, kind of long.
Trouble is, there's no chimps or gorillas in South America. They're in Africa.
There are
Well, there's Man-Apes.
monkeys
Allegedly.
of sorts, there isn't there? There are
little
like your,
monkeys, I think.
Ragged.
No, orangutans are Asia.
You fucking killjoy. Don't dazzle us with your facts.
There maybe that maybe they are the fucking apes of
Yeah.
America's.
They've evolved.
Yeah,
That
sorry,
is-
Claire, go on.
Yeah,
Maybe.
they've evolved
Maybe.
into man-apes now, you know.
Maybe the way the surroundings has evolved them in a completely different way. So you've got your gorillas that went gorilla-like,
Yeah.
and your ones that went a bit more upright, humanoid.
Wouldn't you be
In
finding the
America.
bones of these animals?
Maybe they're very, very fucking good at
How
disposing of their dead.
deep into
Well,
the
they eat the
jungle?
bones of the dead.
Well, how deep into the jungle are we at this point? We don't know this. I mean, is this area now inhabited? Is it still jungle? How many people go in there on a regular basis?
They could.
Is this a lost tribe of Neanderthals? Is also another question you've got to ask. You
What do you
know?
reckon, Chester?
Or a missing link.
He's
Yeah,
looking at me
possibly,
funny.
possibly the missing link.
The cat's looking at me funny, so I think he's got something to say on the matter.
He's trying to steal your soul. That's
Apparently
what it
there is no missing link.
Oh.
Apparently. I think that's a myth.
Has that been found, or was it just
Yeah, we know how we transition.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a missing link.
Well, it seems quite obvious by this point that Fawcett did not regard what he glimpsed as human beings. This was perhaps all odd enough as it was, but then it got even more bizarre that evening at dusk when the forest suddenly came alive with the sounds of what seemed to be braying horns from out in the distant dark. The expedition members, and we're probably talking like, what, 5, 6 guys tops?
Yeah.
With locals.
With a couple of locals, well, probably like maybe 3 or 4 Europeans and maybe 4 or 5 locals to carry the stuff, with some mules and probably a couple of dogs. And the expedition members were immediately on alert, as they instinctively knew this was an aggressive sound issued forth with the promise of threat. And Fawcett was right of these horns and what followed, we'll quote him. In the subdued light of evening, beneath the high vault of branches in this forest untrodden by civilised man, the sound was as eerie as the opening notes of some fantastic opera. We know the savages made it, these savages were now on our trail. Soon we could hear shouts and jabbering to the accompaniment of rough horn calls, a barbarous, merciless din, in marked contrast to the stealth of the ordinary savage. Darkness still distant above the tree tops was settling rapidly down here in the depths of the wood, so we looked about us for a camping site which offered some measure of safety from attack, and finally took refuge in a takora thicket. Here the naked savages would not dare to follow because of the wicked inch-long thorns. As we slung our hammocks inside the natural stockade, we could hear the savages jabbering excitedly all around, but not daring to enter. Then, as the last light went, they left us, and we heard no more of them.
Probably
That's
just
good.
taking the piss out of him. Look at these lot sleeping in the thorns.
We were only going to come and show him how to survive out here.
I don't know, the horns blaring suggests that they're trying to scare you off,
There's
doesn't it?
nothing saying it's 8 men that made these noises, though, is it? This could just be human
Which could be
tribes.
locals,
yeah.
couldn't it?
I thought they were right in the thick of it, you know.
Well, in all fairness, he doesn't specify in that scenario whether they are the 8 men that you saw earlier, but I think it's assumed that they are.
He mentions it was unlike your normal savages kind of thing, wasn't it? Your normal savages, fucking hell. It's definite 1920s speak.
1914.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It is an eerie image, to be sure, this solitary camp of bedraggled explorers terrified by the sight of hairy men and now harassed by these mysterious horns in the night, punctuated by the chattering of some rough alien language, and it was still not over for them. The next morning, the team warily checked their surroundings and could find no sign of the savages having intruded into the vicinity. They continued along one of the well-delineated trails that they were finding and camped once again, that evening without incident. The next morning they struck out from the camp and within just about a mile stumbled across what seems to be the actual village of the strange tribe. That's not where you want to end up, is it? Like, oh shit. Populated by creatures who are obviously not exactly human. Fawcett, rather spectacularly, describes what happened.
I'm surprised they've not made a movie about this.
They have, actually.
Have they?
Yes. I only found out about this last night when I was speaking to my housemate about today's episode, like what we were doing, and he said, "Oh, I watched a film about that. I think it was on Amazon Prime."
Charlie Hunnam's in it, isn't he?
Yeah. And I just like, oh, fuck me, I didn't know that.
Lost City of Zed. I
Zed,
think, yeah.
yeah.
There was no Man-Apes in it.
No Man-Apes.
No.
God
Not that I
damn.
remember.
I always think this is more like the film Congo. Have you seen Congo?
Yeah.
With the intelligent ape species.
Well, it was the
Psychotic intelligence.
yeah, the one that could
species.
sign to them, couldn't she? She could do sign language, that
Talk,
one.
essentially, couldn't she?
And then there was the grey gorillas who were like,
They was
Yeah.
a bit more evolved, and they were really vicious.
oh, that was it, because the little gorilla kept on drawing pictures of grey gorillas and
She
like
could
the
talk,
city in the
couldn't
woods,
she? Wasn't her name
and she
Amy
could
or
sign,
something?
and the glove spoke when she signed. didn't it?
Amy, I'm sure. her
Amy,
name
was it? I've read the book. The book's a lot better than the film,
Normally are.
but the film is because Michael Crichton.
We went to the
quite
cinema
good
to
film.
watch
We
it.
did
didn't
watch
It's
it.
quite a good movie, though.
Michael Crichton.
Michael
Crichton.
Yeah, good film.
I like the film, but the book is far superior because the gorillas don't get so savagey. They have these stone paddles they crush your skull with. That's it. They kill you in that, as well as obviously ripping your limb from limb. They like to use these stone paddles to squash your skull,
Just for added effect.
just for added effect. Fawcett describes what happens next. In the morning, we went on, and with a quarter of a mile, came to a sort of palm leaf sentry box. Then another. Then all of a sudden, we reached open forest. The undergrowth fell away, disclosing between the tree boles a village of primitive shelters where squatted some of the most villainous savages I have ever seen. Some were engaged in making arrows, others just idled, great ape-like brutes who looked as if they had been scarcely evolved beyond the level of beasts.
I think there's a bit of racism going on in here.
Well, it's 1914.
I know, yeah.
Villainous. That's a bit rough.
I know, yeah.
I whistled, and an enormous creature, hairy as a dog, leapt to his feet in the nearest shelter, fitted an arrow to his bow in a flash, and came up dancing from one leg to the other until he was only 4 yards away. Emitting grunts that sounded like ugh, ugh, ugh.
Oh my
He
God.
remained there dancing, and suddenly the whole forest around us was alive with these hideous ape men, all grunting ugh, 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 and dancing from leg to leg in the same way as they strung arrows to their bows. It looked like a very delicate situation for us, and I wondered if it was the end. I made friendly overtures in Maxubi, and they paid no attention, as those of human speech were beyond their powers of comprehension. The creature in front of me ceased his dance, stood for a moment perfectly still, and then drew his bowstring back till it was level with his ear, at the same time rising the barbed point of the 6-foot-long arrow to the height of my chest. I looked straight into the pig-like eyes, half hidden under the overhanging brows, and knew immediately that he was not going to loose that arrow yet. As deliberately as he had raised it, he now lowered the bow, and commenced once enough the slow dance, and the ugh, ugh, ugh.
Ooh.
balls of fucking steel though, Fawcett, hasn't he? Some Bigfoot's got a bow and arrow pointed at your chest, and he's like looking at him like, you're not going to pull that bow.
I didn't think his top lip looked a bit shiny. It's definitely made of fucking steel or something, isn't it? he's got one stiff upper lip, he has.
That's very true.
He's just stood there like, right, that's it, just brace yourself. Brace yourself.
You won't release that arrow, ape man.
Oh, I understand what you're thinking though. I can hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, my God, this is racist as fuck.
It is.
That's all it is.
It was his pick.
Racist.
It was his pick. I want to point out, as with anything, you have to look at it as the zeitgeist of the time. When you're reading anything historical, yes, it's racist. Yes, it's homophobic. Yes, it's anything ist you want it to be. But you have to look at it from the perspective of the person writing it.
Yeah,
this was their way of speaking.
Views at the time, wasn't it?
This was the words they used. And I apologise if anyone's offended, obviously. But I'm reading it verbatim from his quote.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to look at it from the perspective of the person writing it at the time. Basically. Views change, morals change.
But that also brings into question whether they really were ape men and not just fairly hairy humans.
But yeah, that's the only question.
His racism
it's the
is saying, oh, they
hairiness.
can't be human.
It's the hairiness of them though.
Yes, but he didn't have an issue describing. He described the other tribes as human, who he met in his
Yeah, but these
statement.
are obviously a bit more primitive, and so his
But then-
racism is
But what about the hooded eyes and the sloping heads?
Yeah, only 100 years ago.
The other guys weren't hairy, these guys are.
He's got some locals with him as well.
he could be
you know.
accentuating them.
Obviously, he's got
Traits, couldn't he?
locals who are obviously also interpreting what's going on and what the area holds.
Yeah, and if there's a
etc.
tribe who hates that other tribe,
Yeah.
then they're going to be
But
they're going to denigrate that tribe, aren't they?
how do you then describe these 8, 9, 10 foot tall?
Well, I'm not
Ape
saying about
men.
that. These are, at the moment aren't, are they?
These are sort of human-sized, I'm guessing. He hasn't mentioned
He
the
hasn't
height.
mentioned size on these ones.
No.
But he has mentioned
He
the
says
fact that they're
hairy men. Is what he says.
But big, brutish, like
Yeah.
not far off from the beasts or some. You know, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but so they're big. They're obviously big unit blokes. Like
Yeah.
he's got a 6 foot fucking arrow that he's.
So he's got to have at least a 6
he's
foot
got,
bow.
He's got to be fairly big. This guy.
It could be, but I'm just saying it could also be that,
And
or
he
some
could
of
be
that.
over accentuating
Yeah.
the facts.
But we've got to look at it.
Also,
He's,
yeah, exactly. I mean, he wants to. You know, he doesn't want it to be
He
a
wants-
failure, does it?
No.
His expedition. He wants to come out with something.
He's a famous
something juicy.
explorer. You know,
Yeah.
he has to do something. So he can write books about it, and the Royal Geographic Society will send him out on more stuff.
There you go.
The thing is, though, what he is talking about isn't unbelievable in the sense that there has been lots of other reports of very similar things. So, up to nowadays, so there could be truth in this, certainly.
I also want to point out that Fawcett claimed on one of his in his journals, on one of his expeditions, to have shot a 60-foot anaconda. And that was laughed at the time. So snakes don't get that big.
Well, they
Now we know that they do.
They do.
Apparently he was going up a tree and he just went bang and shot it in the head.
It wouldn't surprise me if he did. He seems like that kind of fucking guy. He's like, well, I'd rather take that out before it takes us out.
What's your thinking at the moment, Claire?
I think it sounds plausible, you know.
What you think?
There's validity to it.
Yeah.
I'm very sceptical.
I mean, remember that we're talking, it's 1914, this area is completely unexplored maybe explored by the Portuguese in the 15th century, 17th century, sorry. That's where we get the account of the lost city of Zed from, this Portuguese explorer. Fawcett found this in the library archives in Portugal. Sorry, in Brazil. You know, so this is where he gets the idea from. They're looking for this city. No one's been there for 2 centuries. You know, he's going deeper than the other guy because the other guy came back.
Yeah.
Or was he just really lucky? But he claims these natives told him tales of this lost city of Zed amongst us, which, if you want to go further down a rabbit hole, may or may not be the capital of Atlantis. We'll talk about that at the end. This brutish ape man allegedly continues to do this several more times, aiming the bow, only continue with his odd disjointed dance and then aim it again. However, Fawcett seemed to know that at any point the arrow could unleash, and his hand was firmly kept upon the butt of his pistol as he took in the whole outlandish scene. At some point, Fawcett says he began to seriously fear for his life and decided to try scaring it off with his sidearm, shooting off a round that pinged the earth by the beast's feet and sent a thunderous boom echoing through the jungle. He says of this sequence of events, and I'll quote him, "I drew out a Mauser pistol I had on my hip. It was a big clumsy thing of a calibre unsuitable to forest use, but I bought it because by clipping the wooden holster to the pistol butt, it became a carbine that was lighter to carry than a true rifle."
What does that mean?
Right, the Mauser pistol is called the broom handle Mauser because it looks like a broom handle. It's a big clunky pistol, but it fires a .38 round, which at the time was a fairly big cartridge, and because it's quite clunky, it comes in the case that you buy it with a wooden shoulder stock, which you can clip to the back of the pistol and turn it into basically a very tight little rifle. A carbine, a smaller rifle. That was one of his big selling points.
Explained.
I'm that much of a sado at times. You know, I've watched a documentary on the Mauser pistol, amongst others. Gunsmithing kind of fascinates me.
Because of their long barrels, though, they were really accurate. That was the beauty of them.
Well, look at a picture of the Mauser pistol. If we can find one, Mike, you can Google that quick, couldn't you? So yeah, we've just looked at it. I've shown the guys what a Mauser pistol is. You can go and find that. Think, if you're really struggling, Han Solo's pistol in the original Star Wars trilogy is basically a Mauser, but it fires lasers.
They probably used a decommissioned Mauser for it.
Probably did. And the reason they put the stock with it is because it's got a very big calibre.
Kick, didn't
it's
it?
It's heavy and it's got a kick, so you put a stock in it. You can use it how you want.
It'd have had a kick like a Magnum.
Yeah.
4.2 Magnum.
Yeah.
Is it the 4.2 Magnum?
444.
That's it, the 44 Magnum, isn't it? The 4.44 Magnum.
Oh, that's
a kick like that.
Too much on there.
Yes, but
they used .38 black powder shells which made a din out of all proportion to their size. I never raised it, I just pulled the trigger and banged it off into the ground at the ape man's feet. The effect was instantaneous. A look of complete amazement came into the hideous face and the little eyes opened wide. He dropped his bow and arrow and sprang away as quickly as a cat to vanish behind a tree. Then the arrows began to fly. We shot off a few more rounds into the branches, hoping the noise would scare the savages into a more receptive frame of mind, but they seemed in no way disposed to accept us, and before anyone was hurt, we gave it up as hopeless and retreated down the trail till the camp was out of sight. We were not followed, but the clamour in the village continued for a long time as we struck off northwards, and we fancied we still heard the ugh, ugh, ugh of the enraged braves.
See, in all fairness, if it's all true, they probably would have never have encountered gunfire before, would they?
No.
So that would have been like, what the fuck?
It's just the whole say hello to my boomstick.
Yeah, but there would have been human tribes that hadn't been exposed to the gunshot as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, but he's not. Well, yeah, totally. Yeah,
Not just
no one in this jungle, or very few people in this jungle, have heard a firearm go off because these guys aren't
100%.
discharging firearms willy nilly.
No.
You've only got a finite amount of rounds that you can carry. You might only have like 4 or 5 magazines worth of rounds. You're not just going to start expending shells just for the hell of it, just to impress the natives, are you?
Were they like a ball shop then?
No, those were.
They were actual.
That was
rounds.
a lead bullet. This is black powder at charging that, so I'm not assuming it was a bit more power behind it.
Bloody hell. Yeah, they would have been really
Obviously,
powerful.
would have been really
Like,
smoky when he fired it.
that would have probably been the most powerful pistol you could get at the time, I would have thought.
The Webley revolver the Brits used was pretty powerful. To quote, and obviously I don't agree with the name that it was given by British colonial officers, as the Savage Stopper.
Oh.
It would put a guy rushing at you with a spear down with a round. They used to use the dum-dum bullets with the flatheads.
Saying that
They're illegal now, you can't use them anymore.
Some of the cowboy pistols were pretty fucking
45,
handy, weren't they?
Peacemaker, yeah. Sorry, we're getting onto a sidetrack.
Yeah.
But this account may seem to be completely sensational to the point that it might be easy for the more sceptical minded to dismiss it out of hand. But there are a few reasons why it has warrant and deserves consideration. And the first being that this was not likely some fictional story Fawcett was telling. It was part of his very serious and typically meticulous notes on his expedition, and sitting there right amongst more mundane observations of the wildlife and region's peoples. He was a consummate professional and member of the Royal Geographical Society, who funded these expeditions. Your reputation's on the line if you're Fawcett. If you go into the jungle and come back with fanciful tales,
Yeah, you're going to get laughed at.
they're going to go, well, that's not right. He was laughed at when he said about the 60-foot anaconda. He was proved right, eventually, by science. But, you know, they were like, oh, that's ridiculous. Pop, 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 pop. You know, but the more fantastical stuff you come back with, the less they're really fucking likely to give you any more money, isn't it? They're a serious society.
Yeah.
They want to map the world. This is their thing. Remember, Britain at this point, global. We're a global empire, and we want to expand that, especially South America where we don't have much. So, you know, we can find some resources in that jungle that we can use. All of a sudden, it becomes a lot more interesting to us, doesn't it?
Maybe I'm going back to the racist thing here. Maybe the use of 8 men didn't mean what we think it means. It just means more primitive humans.
I think you have to also look
a derogatory term.
Guys who went into Livingston and company, who went into the deepest, darkest depths of the jungles in Africa, didn't use terms like 8 men.
No.
You know, the guys who do
Maybe he's proper racist as well.
I think he's got a. I think. While I won't disagree like 100% with you that there's definitely an element of racism here.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree to that, can't we, Claire?
Yeah.
Because guaranteed he would have been racist of the day.
The attitude of the time.
Yeah.
So he might be a little bit more scathing in his interpretation of these individuals who he's encountered. I also think that he's there to map this place and do a good job so he can get the money to go back, because this is something he seems to really love.
Can I make one little point quickly at the same time as well? You've got to remember, he's an adventurer. He has encountered many multiple cultures throughout his life of venturing, so it's not like it's unusual to him to come across a tribe of black people, things like that. That's not an unusual thing to him.
No, he's encountered the other tribes on the way, and they've been all right with him. He's not described any others as savages and things like that, because they've been quite primitive or whatever. But these ones, he seems to have a...
So there is an element of that as well, I think, you've got to take into account. He's not a one-time guy, is he? He's not someone who's just come across this perchance.
No,
he's a proper explorer who's done his stuff. He's been probably all around the bloody world by this point.
South America's his place. He likes South America. You know, he's going to go there, he's going to do it. Why are you coming back and... Or why would you make it up? It doesn't make...
And in them days, you wouldn't have made up things like that, because you would get laughed at even more so than nowadays, because they believed they were all fucking godly men. And
Well, he made meticulous notes of it. This is right amongst mundane observations of the wildlife and the peoples. There's this story of these ape-like men, which is... He's there writing meticulous notes.
It's all normal, crazy! Normal.
Why didn't he bring back the head of the anaconda then?
They didn't. He obviously had to claim. This is his story. I shot this giant 60-foot anaconda.
It's probably too fucking big.
And they were like, oh really? They don't get that big. No snake can be that big.
You're not going to stuff a fucking 60-foot anaconda snake in your backpack when you're in that kind of scenario.
That's still a hefty sized head though, isn't it?
Yeah, that could be 10 kilos extra you've got to carry. And that, I'm thinking of a very small size for probably what it would be if it was 60 foot.
60-foot anaconda, man. Its head's got to be fucking...
Have a big
head, proportionate. Its head's really taking up most of this bloody room, in all fairness.
You've already shot it, you might as well, take it for...
Did he say he killed it though?
Eat it?
Yeah, killed it.
I ate it as well, ate the rest and then took the head home.
Like a bit of snake meat.
I think I was not that bad, Mike.
Do you know what?
Is that why you're banned from the reptile enclosure of the zoo?
60-foot snake, man, that would get some good meat off it, wouldn't it?
Steaks.
So you would, if you killed one, you would be chomping down, definitely.
It's meant to be quite lean, isn't it?
Lovely snake is. It
Yeah.
does
No, I've
taste a
never
bit
tried
like
it.
chicken. Yeah, it's a bit like chicken. People say that. It genuinely
White
is.
meat is...
I've had shark, which is again a lot like chicken. Chicken of the sea.
Shark. You go and tell a shark it's a chicken of the sea, mate.
Yeah.
Chicken in the cave, that's nice.
Crocodile.
Bat.
Crocodile is like a porky chicken. It really is. Again, there's so many of those. Yeah, they're all like bloody chicken.
That's the pig of the sea.
Pig of the waters. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's just Ben's mum when she's on holiday.
Oh.
Ooh. Low blow with a monster.
Kick your ass, I'm telling you.
Your mama's so fat, every time she turns around it's her birthday.
You got to get a yo mama joke in there.
Your mum was so fat she fell down the stairs and people thought EastEnders was starting.
I like that one.
When you were a baby, you were so ugly, your mama had to feed you with a slingshot.
I haven't got a when you were a baby reply.
Your mum is so fat and I have to roll her in flour when I want to fuck her to find the wet spot.
Oh.
Oh, well, enough of that.
Open wide. There it is.
Enough of that.
That's guy's banned from YouTube.
Yeah. Fawcett has been accused of having perhaps exaggerated his dealings with the natives, and in this case made them out to be hairy brutes out of some racist agenda. But if that were the case, then why are there other records of his dealings with locals that are completely accurate in their depiction of their appearance and behaviour?
Exactly.
That kind of what I said then,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
It is somewhat true that Fawcett was known to have some strong opinions on the more primitive tribes,
Yeah.
but he seems to have never let it compromise the matter-of-fact way in which he recorded the people themselves. Sanderson has much to say about an aspect of the journal entries, writing, "He, Fawcett, was not an ethnologist, anthropologist or archaeologist, but it was with these disciplines that he clashed, and it was towards the protagonists of the first that he most often expressed himself as feeling most bitter. In his extensive travels through hitherto unexplored territories, he discovered many groups of people the first time, lived with them, often acquired not a little of their language, recorded what of their customs he could, and attempted some classification of their origins. Much of this all conflicted with established beliefs amongst ethnologists, and Fawcett's historical records, were at complete variance with what was then and still is accepted. Yet while these theories are strongly criticised, the veracity of the facts he collected were never questioned. It was his assessment of them that was considered invalid." So what he's saying is basically, he lived with these people. He wasn't trained in these disciplines, but he still did them. He just wasn't very knowledgeable about them, but he basically did the job. Because he's a gentleman explorer, damn it, and that's what we did. We travelled the world nicking stuff.
Pretending we were making friends.
Gentlemen explorers of the British Empire went around nicking stuff and discovering lots of things, but also nicking stuff, which I kind of like. Finders keepers, motherfucker.
Well, they come back with all sorts of bugs, didn't they? And
Yeah. They'd come back with some turtles if they hadn't had them all on the way home.
butterflies, and they put them in, display cases so they could share what they've got with the society when they get back, didn't they?
That's it. Now this puts his account of the hairy Maricoxis, the Bigfoots, in an entirely different light, quite apart from the fact that his word was never doubted, that he had two reliable witnesses, and that what he saw was both before and afterwards confirmed by others, and that reports relayed to him by several people described exactly what he had seen. We are therefore compelled to accept this report in total, and this means simply that in the year 1914 they were living to the northwest of the Parasis Range in the Mato Grosso what were apparently tribal groups of fully haired hominids of grossly primitive aspect, and in no possible way descended from or related to the Amerindian Aborigines of the Americas.
So has anyone been round them ways to have a look since?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we still don't really know how deep people have gone into this nowadays, because sometimes they still don't really go into the deepest first. Planes fly over, or helicopters fly over, and take pictures of these villages they've never found before, and get an arrow stuck in them for...
You need special permissions as well from the local government to go into these places.
You go in there nowadays, Claire, and you've got a bit of a sniffle, or a bit of a fever or whatever, kill the entire tribe.
It's not even that. there's
Maybe to the
everywhere's
north, the-
protected and
Well, it's
private and all sorts nowadays.
It's like the island we did the episode on. What was it
Yeah,
called?
yeah.
now?
Sentinel Island.
North Central Island.
Yeah.
You know, you still got there's probably still tribes like that out there that we don't know about now. Hidden deep in the forest, really good at evading us as we do encroach slightly in.
There's cannibal tribes in Papua New Guinea, isn't there?
The was. I don't think they are now.
Oh, no.
I believe there's some in Telford too.
Brexit Britain.
We're not eating the dead yet. It's not the siege of Leningrad, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the snow. Now, while Sanderson may seem perhaps too quick to buy the whole tale, it certainly is an account that stands out amongst Fawcett's writings, and which ultimately leaves more questions than answers. What did Fawcett and his fellow expedition members encounter out there in that jungle? Were these indeed the legendary Maricoxi or something else? It is truly unfortunate that, considering that Fawcett was not particularly interested in following up on it, and seems to have considered it mostly an obstacle and oddity. He never did make any effort to find out what they were, and the creatures of his account just sort of fade into the background to remain perplexing enigmas. Did these creatures really exist the way that Fawcett described them? And if so, were they, and how did they fit into the Maricoxi legend? The answer may forever remain hidden out there in that forbidden jungle lair.
They may have ingested something that made them hallucinate.
That's a
Is that a
possibility,
possibility?
but you've got locals with you who would tell you what they can and can't
Or
eat.
maybe they just fed
Yeah,
it
just
them
eat that
for
spider.
a laugh. lick that toad.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, possibly that was a bit of a hazing thing. Well, you know what? That's one of the things we'll never know.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is the
Weed hole. He's gone. He's gone.
He's fell into it.
Where's your rope now, Pete?
I had it.
Where's your magic
Let
rope
it
now?
go.
Disappeared.
It's plausible, I think. You know, there could be some sort of like hairy humanoid, human-like tribe out there.
I've remembered my point now anyway.
Go on,
So,
then.
do you believe that the creatures were there? Yes. Possibly.
Right. So maybe, possibly. So
Right.
Is that all you've got?
Right.
Was this your entire point, Pete? Do I have to fucking take a seat,
No,
move my
no.
feet up a little bit?
No, I was joking aside. Basically, he asks why he never focused on them. He never went back there. Things like that. Perhaps he was a bit terrified, and he never wanted to go back.
No, he's
never
not a
wanted,
bastard.
but never wanted to admit it. Being a fucking stiff upper lip.
Well,
kinda
if
prick.
you've had a bow and arrow pointed at you repeatedly, and you're thinking,
Well, he said they had to
He's
retreat.
he did say like, he said I knew he wasn't going to put it, but at some point you're going to go, am I wrong?
Well, after he shot his gun, he did have arrows come his way, didn't they? So,
Yeah.
and they retreated. So maybe he was a little bit frightened of it. Never
Well,
really wanted to admit that.
You don't
so just
want-
let it sink in the background.
You don't want a running battle with a tribe when there's like 6 of you with limited ammunition, do
No.
you?
No.
So
What
it's
were
not
his
in your
options?
best interest to go out there and start trying to start fights, is it?
Yeah. What were his options? Take back a fucking platoon, just in case it goes wrong, and then they wipe them out. That's not a good option for him. Go back as you are. That's not a good option for him, because it didn't end well the
Well-
first time. So you just forget about it.
The thing is,
maybe.
you've met like 4 or 5 tribes on the way that you've encountered friendly, you've lived with them for a few days and moved on, and then you come across a hostile tribe that you've had to resort to firing a round into the floor, into the ground. You know, you're like, well, you know what? Maybe we won't go back there because we can't afford to have any of us injured out here.
Yeah, and I do think maybe it was all put on the back burner purely because it was never really spoken about because he never wanted to admit. Oh, I'm a bit afraid to go back there, to be honest, mate.
He's outnumbered as well, you know, and you know, he's gentlemanly. He's not there to start fights. He's there to discover.
Yeah, they obviously didn't want to make friends. Leave them fucking be.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
That was maybe.
we
his
can't afford to
attitude
be
on it.
injured out here. I can't afford to get an arrow through the chest or
I
the
ain't
leg
waste-
or whatever.
I
It's-
ain't wasting my life.
I'd have gone back to the last tribe that they'd stayed at, yeah,
Yeah.
and asked you seen that fucking area?
Yeah, they talked about them, didn't they? They said that they were good hunters, but what else was it?
Oh yeah.
They eat the cannibals.
Yeah.
They'll eat you.
Oh, so they knew about. Yeah,
Yeah.
they knew about them as well. Yeah.
So
It's quite plausible.
I think it's really plausible.
I'm more sceptical than you lot then. I'm afraid.
I don't see what reason he has to really lie. I mean, he wants.
I think he had a jungle fever.
What,
I
all
know
of them at the
I
same time?
Yeah.
He's
Bad
licking
water,
toads.
licking toads, whatever.
But why would
What
you wouldn't
about
all
the-
have the same trip though, would you? You'd all have completely different
Remember,
fucking trips.
memories are weird. If one person's memory of it's stronger, he keeps saying what happened. Their memory will adapt to that in that state.
He kept going on about his hairy man. He was a bit unsure, and then they come along to the idea. Maybe.
Perhaps. We don't know, do we?
No, we don't know.
He died how many years ago?
1925. Well, we don't actually know when he died. 1925, he went missing.
But we do have his head.
No, we allegedly have his head. One of the tribes in the region claimed that they'd killed him, and they produced his bones as evidence.
What year did he go missing?
1925.
Is this when he went back after the First World War?
After the First World War, he went back, he got funding, he went back to look for the city. He claimed to have seen many remarkable sights, including the giant anaconda, toothless freshwater sharks, and dogs with double noses, which there are... Actually, there's a species of canine who live in the jungle that have a split in their nose. It looks like two noses. I checked that out.
Interesting.
Now, in 1925, he disappeared while searching for the lost city of Zed in circumstances that remain a mystery to this day. Some assume the party had been killed by Indians, but rumours persist that Fawcett had gone native and lived out his life as the chief of a cannibal tribe.
No, I can't see
Or
that.
He's gone full apocalypse now, it's fantastic!
He went back.
and they killed him.
The horror.
No, they took him in. As the
horror.
chief of the cannibal tribe.
I reckon he
I
went
see a
back
snail
with
crawling on
a
its
small crew again, thinking I'll try again.
He went back with 6 people the second time.
Yeah, he went back
1920.
to try again.
He had 2 sons, one of them came with him. None of them came back.
Yeah, he went to try again and they got fucking killed by him.
There's 3
They
Europeans.
warned you 12 years ago, you bastards. You've come back, you're dead this time.
There was 3 Europeans and 3 native guys, and a couple of mules and some dogs. None of them came back. One of the tribes said they killed him, produced his bones as evidence. Apparently this was discounted later on to DNA. There's the shrunken head, which we can see there in that picture. You go and look at this. Listener, Colonel Fawcett is spelled F-A-W-C-E-T-T.
Looks like that off Beetlejuice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Apparently it bears a resemblance to him. That's the other shrunken head. That's not the one we're looking for. You just scroll across. This is not the shrunken head you're looking for. Or did he go full apocalypse now? I see a snail crawling along a razor's edge. The horror.
Never watched it.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh.
It's a classic.
How long is the
Brilliant.
extended cut? 3.5 hours?
Something like that.
Oh, it's worth it though.
I don't know, the French bit is a bit too much.
Yeah, I suppose the French bit sucks a little bit.
Is that in the extended version?
Yeah. Maybe stick with the normal cut.
I'd have took him some chocolate back, I would have. That'd have won him round.
Well, one of the reasons I think he might have been killed is because they were going down the river in a canoe, and you had to bring gifts for the natives. That was like a bit of a custom thing. That's how you got their trust. You brought them gifts, and they lost the gifts in the river because of this canoe accident. So when they got to the next village, they're like, "We just lost our gifts. We've got nothing to give you." They killed them.
Oh, rough.
Wouldn't surprise me because there was a lot of hostile natives around those areas, so
Well, it's true. It's custom, isn't it? I suppose you give a gift if you want to come in.
you don't follow custom. There's no laws out there other than we kill you, motherfucker.
You've broken tradition, therefore you're hostile to us. There you go. I don't know how it works.
So we all think it's a bit likely, but I'm a bit more pessimistic. than the
Yeah,
rest here.
I think it's likely. These guys went in there with a genuine quest for knowledge, especially people like Fawcett.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's more likely than Sasquatch.
I'm going to go
Oh,
to them and say it's
yeah,
more
yeah.
likely than that
Because
Bigfoot Hunters
it's-
episode Pete made
It's
us
just
watch.
warmer, and I think, you could live outside.
You need to watch that whole series to understand it and get the whole thing of that.
Still defending that series.
Yeah, I am.
So Claire, you're well down for it then.
Yeah, more likely than Sasquatch.
Right, off to find the Lost City of Z then.
Is that on the list?
That's our next one after Cannock Chase. We'll do Cannock Chase first.
Start with
and
Cannock
that'll be
Chase,
our
that's
warm-up.
local, yeah.
It's our warm up, and then we'll go off to find City
Lost
of Z.
City of Z.
Yeah. We're on it, guys, don't you worry.
Right, should we have some fucked up facts before we finish?
Yeah.
Theme tune, please.
Facts, fucked up facts.
Facts.
Alright, Mike, here's some fucked up facts.
On average, being single costs £860 more a month than being partnered.
Of course it does, you split the bills.
Yeah.
It's a lot though, isn't it?
It's a lot,
Yeah.
though, yeah. I didn't think it was that much, but...
I can kind of vouch for this because I've just gone from a family, like wife and 2 kids, to being on my own, but still having to have a 3-bedroom house because my kids need to come over and that. And yeah, and I'm fucking skint all the time. And yeah, all of my money goes on living now. So yeah, I can understand.
It's wholly unfair though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why should it be like that?
Shit in it, but hey ho.
Yeah.
Stiff up a lip.
Yeah.
Never mind, I could be eating animal poo. Like this toilet-shaped carnivorous plant.
I've heard of this, yeah.
Ooh, that's nice.
We're looking at a picture of the plant. It does look like a toilet, indeed, yep.
And it literally does, it feeds off animal poop. That's exactly, it's weird, but it's actually shaped like that as well, strange.
Well, Brexit Britain hasn't hit that point yet. We're not eating animal. We're not cutting into cow dung yet.
I like how you say yet.
I'm not digging through the kitty with my hands, bare hands to get
Undigested scraps of food. We're not at that stage yet in Britain. Yet.
Yet. Another couple of months.
Michael Gove said we could all rummage through the skips if we wanted.
It did.
Did he?
Yeah.
We're allowed to now.
If it got really bad, yeah, we could all rummage through the skips. We all get charged for stealing.
Oh, that's
He
nice
literally
of him.
said that in a interview.
That's nice of him,
It's
isn't it?
unbelievable, isn't
Yeah.
it?
No, I'll let people rummage through
Can you
the skips.
imagine him on his hands and knees rummaging through a skip?
Only for cocaine. Allegedly.
Or ass.
You know what? I'm going to retract that allegedly.
They're all on it.
Of course
It's
they are.
finding the bloody toilets.
Yeah,
Yeah, why wasn't that investigated?
you told me.
Why didn't the police have sniffer dogs in there immediately?
They should have
Check everybody.
Yeah.
Check everybody?
They should have sniffer dogs going in and out there anyway. That smells.
They don't want it, do they? Because they want to
bombs and
continue
drugs.
doing coke.
I don't know if they can do bombs and drugs. I think a dog specialises in one.
We'd have one for drugs.
One for drugs, one there. You'd have one for drugs,
They
one
don't
for
want it, do
bombs.
they? They don't want to stop having their fun.
No, of course they don't.
It's a free bar! What else do they want?
Thought it was just subsidised.
Heavily subsidised. I bet you it's some...
House of Lords get free champagne, don't they?
I think they get like 300 quid's worth of booze a day in the House of Lords. Or 300 pound bottles of wine in the House of
Disgusting. These
Lords.
people
I'm in the wrong job.
And these people are millionaires.
Yeah.
They don't need it, and we get shit all help. Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
God, I'd love to end up in the House of Lords one day.
We get free water.
Banish it, mate.
No, we don't.
Shouldn't exist.
No, I don't agree with it, but...
If you agree with it if you're in there, don't you? You can. Typical politician, isn't he?
Someone
There he is.
says
You'll
you can
send
be-
us down the fucking river as much as you can.
You can be Lord Carter if you
Yeah.
want to be like... It does have a nice ring to it.
And you get free alcohol. Yes, I'll do it!
Obviously I don't use my powers for good.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, but you can trust me.
That's what they all say.
I'm one of you.
That's what they all say.
I'm working a factory. I'm working a warehouse.
That's what they all say.
I'm a forklift driver, come on. I'm going to be dressed up
You'll be
with the pod
forklift
with you.
driving when you're a lord, will you?
Yeah, I'll still go back and do it,
Farage,
as
too,
well.
Will you?
no.
Fuck.
He'll have his own forklift to drive around in his back garden, pretending he's still working. I'm still normal. I'm still normal. Look, I'm still driving a forklift.
Think of the PR shoots I could do where I go and visit like dock workers and shit.
He still uses the forklift though to pick up his fucking pallets of
Gold.
wine. Yeah, pallets of wine and beer
Gold.
and champagne for when the guests
Moves his
come.
gold bullion around.
Hey, I can move my own gold bullion around. I don't need to hire someone to do it.
I have my own forklift and it's made of gold bullion. That's what the counterweight is.
So I hid my reserve stash, the counterweight in the forklift.
In my Lamborghini forklift.
You crypto fascist.
No, he uses bitcoins as the counterweight.
I can't use bitcoins, they're not physical things, are they?
Yeah, there are physical versions of them.
Oh, yes, there are. You're right. They do send them to you if you pay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I was just saying, I wouldn't mind ending up there now one day. You can't tell me you wouldn't want that lifestyle.
What I thought.
Pay extra for a Bitcoin, for the actual coin.
I don't know, to be honest. I've no idea. I know you
Pay
can
for
get
it to be
physical.
minted, I guess. I don't know.
I've no idea. Go on then, Mike. Next one.
Does anyone know where the term white elephant comes from?
No, I don't actually. Is there something about white animals being like dodgy, like Moby Dick was a white whale?
No, it's actually about white elephants.
Oh, right. They're really rare.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
There we go.
And because they were sacred,
Ah.
so they couldn't work. So you had to house them and feed them, but you couldn't put them to work. So the King of Siam would give people white elephants as gifts.
Yeah. It's not really a gift though, is it?
No, it's a burden.
Yeah.
That's what the term white elephant.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So he's like,
It's
oh
a
man,
burden.
I got 20 white elephants, man. It cost me a fortune. Hey, you,
Expensive burden.
Here you
is a
go.
white elephant.
have a present. Can't work that elephant though, by the way.
Yeah,
Why couldn't they just set them free, you know?
It's sacred.
yeah.
Yes, I know.
You have to feed and house them.
I'd rather be given a sacred cow. They're a bit cheaper. They can just sit and munch some grass
Yeah.
Get a bit of milk.
and get some
Excuse me.
holy milk.
Holy milk.
In 2017, the Indian government instituted a new law banning the sale of alcohol within 500 metres of a highway. Some bars added mazes in front so that patrons had to travel at least 500 metres to get to the bar.
Genius.
And presumably get out again. Oh, imagine if you were trying to get, if you did go in there and get smashed, try to find your way at the fucking maze.
Yeah, but people have died in that maze.
You'd sober up by the time you got there.
I'm guessing when they say maze, they're talking about like when they go up and down with the
The cordons.
the
Yeah,
corners
barriers.
to make a barrier. Yeah.
Right, boss, is there any chance I can go out the back door, please?
You'd get into a fight purposely, wouldn't you? So you get kicked out by the bouncers. So they always kick you out in the back door, don't they?
Yeah, true.
So I want to go home now. Right, come here, you.
In the 1830s, ketchup was sold as a cure for diarrhea, indigestion, jaundice and rheumatism.
My word.
Wow.
God, it'd do nothing for you, really, ketchup.
Probably give you the shits if you eat too much of it.
Oh, yeah. Or diabetes.
I doubt it had as much sugar in back then.
That's probably true, actually. Yeah, you're right.
There's a railway in Japan that runs on ramen noodle broth.
Fucking
What,
awesome.
they feed the...
Doesn't surprise me.
Or it goes into the engine, or they feed the people and...
What? They feed the
They
people
run.
and they
They Flintstone it.
yeah.
They turn the wheels.
It's not...
I'm not going to do an impression.
It's not
Don't
entirely
worry.
clear.
Well, I guess the engine's powered by ramen noodles.
Why aren't we all powering shit with ramen noodles then, Ben?
Well, Claire, a lot of people in the past sort of 40 or 50 years have made engines that run on water. They've made free energy engines which produce more than you put in. And all those people have
Suddenly died.
mysteriously disappeared or died.
Note to self, never invent non-petrol or diesel engine.
There you go. What happened to this chap? Did he mysteriously die? That was Japan, so no. But still, that has happened. We'll do an episode on that one day.
Yeah, I've come up with a concept for that kind of
Tell
thing
us
as
about
well.
the
So
one
yeah.
from the... You know,
Oh my god, someone's breaking the door in!
the one that you'd use from the Navy, the same
Yeah,
sort of...
shrink it down into a small package. Yeah.
Okay, last bit of fact.
Go on
The
then.
first motorist to be fined for speeding in the UK was driving how fast, do you reckon?
22 miles an hour.
22, Claire.
I think it was about 37 or something.
37.
I was going to say 35.
Claire wins. It was 8 miles an hour in a 2 mile per hour zone.
2 miles per hour
That's
zone.
hilarious.
I suppose
Walking.
the bloke in front's got to keep up, waving that red flag.
You're probably right, actually.
Means he can go at a more leisurely pace rather than having a sort of quick march in front of
Not
it.
even worth having a fucking walking car 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, you weren't walking.
You'd have a horse, wouldn't you? A horse and carriage is faster than that.
Yeah, but nothing status, isn't it? At that point.
Yeah.
Look at me and me.
I say he's got one of those new
T5.
horseless carriages.
T5 or whatever it is, the Ford.
Sounds like my uncle. He
God.
saw one of his neighbours get the new plate of motor, and now he's got to buy one.
Yeah.
It is definitely a status thing. It's gone throughout the ages.
It has. Someone, yeah, that's why people used. That's where horse racing came from, isn't it? My horse is faster than yours.
You see it at Christmas time. With people and their fucking decorations on the front of their houses.
Oh, that's a competition now, isn't it?
Yeah. Honestly, every year they get bigger and built and more.
So, there you go.
Like the next door gets bigger and better the year after, and it's quite fun.
Cars, horses, Christmas lights.
It's all my dick's bigger than your dick, innit? That's what's all about it.
Yeah. The
Dicks.
amount of people I see flopping it out like, going, oh, I can touch the floor with it.
Where are you going?
It's that funny bar that Claire showed me. Like,
And they got small dicks and they're compensating for it, that's all it is.
And on that note, small dicks means big compensation. And there's probably a group of 8 men living in the jungles.
Maybe.
Wonder if their dicks were hairy.
Just you to think of that.
You just mentioned dicks and them hairy guys all in one sentence, and I was just like, on that note,
Would you get them to shave their dicks?
well, they wouldn't have razors now, would they?
Well,
we're going off top here.
Well, either way, maybe they'd have really sharp little flints they'd use.
You're gonna take a flint to you.
That's the best they've got, isn't it?
No, they wouldn't have hairy dicks. Nothing has a hairy dick. They don't. They don't. Nothing.
Did you know Big Fell's got a hairy dick?
They have like hidden.
Pete's an expert.
They probably have them hidden, like cows, horses. You know what I mean?
like dogs, like a big pink thing comes out.
Kind of protrudes out, maybe somewhere, a bit more like a lipstick.
I just think they just fucking swinging free, man.
Well, like, that's what apes and that are like as well, aren't they? They've got like the lipstick kind of effect, haven't they?
I think so.
Yeah, they have. I'm pretty sure of it.
Oh man, I wanted the Bigfoot's just swinging free.
This big fucking hairy bollocks.
Just a big dong swinging free, and it down to his knees.
Tune in for next week when Pete describes all the animal dicks he knows.
Did whales dick before that?
Yeah, we've checked that out before now, yeah.
I bet you have.
They used to make aprons out of whale foreskin.
Who did?
Some guy did.
Mike. That's what he used to do. That's why he doesn't work anymore.
Is it?
Because he's not allowed to do it anymore.
And that was a whale named Ed Gein. On that note, thanks for listening. I've been Ben. You can follow us on Facebook at Cut to the Bull and the Post Truth Apocalypse. You can listen to us on SoundCloud and most other podcasting platforms at Cutting to the Bull in the PTA. And YouTube is Apocalypse Bull. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a loved one. Tell your favourite sock, as long as it's got a YouTube account, I don't really care. Don't join a cult.
We don't get followed by wank socks.
Oh, I think every click we can get.
I've been Mike, thanks for listening. Peace out, may the force be with you.
And I've been Claire, keep an open mind but not so open that it spills out your ears, guys.
And I've been Pete. Enjoy the rest of your week, what you got left, and stay safe. Bye.